A Fox News alert, American commandos mount a daring raid taking out a senior leader of the Islamic State in a fierce battle. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter announcing the raid in the eastern part of Syria that killed the ISIS commander in charge of the group's oil and financial operations. U.S. forces also captured his wife. Hello, everyone, and welcome to America's News Headquarters. I'm Kelly Wright.
And I'm Julie Banderas. We are told no American troops were killed or injured. John Huddy is live at our Mideast Bureau in Jerusalem with more. So, John, what more do we know about the raid and, more importantly, this ISIS commander who was killed?
Well, the raid, Julie, was an extremely dangerous and risky one, but it's being called at this point a success. As far as this ISIS commander that was killed, his name is Abu Sayyaf. He was a top ISIS military commander, but he's also being described as ISIS's CFO, basically in charge of the terror organization's financial operations, the oil and gas. And as we know, last night, again, talking about this raid, it was a dramatic raid when U.S. Army Delta Force members were airdropped in to deep into ISIS territory in eastern Syria near an area called the Al-Amar oil fields. This is one of the biggest oil fields in Syria, again, under ISIS control. They got into a firefight. Abu Sayyaf was killed. He tried to fight back. He was killed, along with at least a dozen other ISIS militants, according to our sources right now on the ground. And we're also hearing there may have been hand-to-hand combat. So again, this was a very dramatic and intense operation. Those commandos also captured Sayyaf's wife, Sayyaf. Now, the U.S. commandos, before taking off, and all of them got out of there safely, as mentioned, but they rescued a young Yazidi woman who was apparently taken as a slave. Remember, ISIS has been involved in human trafficking and also sex slavery. So those commandos were able to get that woman out of there, and Sayyaf is said to have been heavily involved in ISIS's human trafficking operations. So intelligence officials are hoping to glean information from her. Now, despite this being called, albeit a dangerous and risky operation, despite it being called a success, Julie, at this point, ISIS continues to gain ground, not only in Syria, but also, as we're seeing, in Iraq.
And, John, ISIS has also taken over the city of Ramadi, that's in western Iraq. What's the Iraqi military doing to try and fight back?
Well, what we're hearing at this point, according to our sources talking to Iraqi military officials, is that 3 Iraqi combat battalions are set up on the outskirts of Ramadi. They're planning to launch a major ground offensive. The problem is that ISIS has cut off the main road going into Ramadi. ISIS, since April, captured the northern and eastern sections of the city, and yesterday those militants blasted their way in using suicide car bomb attacks into the center of the city, taking over the main governmental complex in the city, raising that ominous black flag. And at this point, there's also the growing humanitarian crisis. Thousands of people, as we've been seeing, Julie, in dramatic images, trying to escape amid the violence, men, women, children, families gathering anything and everything they can carry. And one thing we're hearing from our sources, Julie, very, very disturbing, is that ISIS militants have been executing those people that are trying to escape, including women and children. So it is a very dire situation. We're monitoring what's happening to see if those battalions are indeed going to launch that offensive and when that's going to happen, and if they'll be able to retake Ramadi from ISIS militants. Julie,
all right, John Huddy, so much to talk about here. Thank you very much.